opportunity I told you that. Did you? And you've confirmed that for me, so I appreciate that. You're kind enough to confirm that for me. So I won't. I assure you. I don't use services where I have to fear for my personal safety and even my legal status. So if I hire a cab, I really just want, that's all I really want. All I wanted was a ride. I really wasn't presuming to want anything else other than that. You know? Like, I study people, yes. But it's not because I'm looking for bad things. It's because bad things tend to happen whether you're looking for them or not. Right? Human beings don't behave like that. I don't use a camera in my way of life because I'm looking for people to do bad things. You won't notice a lot of videos on my channel that I've ever posted where it's just somebody doing bad things. Even though it's been helpful to me to threaten certain awareness that I record everything because the human mind is a camera. It's better than a camera. You know, I talked to an RCMPR for once who didn't think much of what my mind had recorded, didn't think much of what my camera recorded. In fact, I spoke to several white women, as it turned out, who didn't think much about anything recording them or anything I recorded or anything someone's brain can record. In any of the ways that our brains and our blood record things. So it's like, sometimes reminding people that things can be recorded, because before anyone recorded, say, police brutality, sad for every woman that happens, including the police, is that the only people recording it was people's minds. The person, say, if you are beat by anybody, police or not, your mind is going to record that, and it's going to leave a shock. And why did we not hear about that for so long? Because people who are beaten by some people don't talk about it or don't feel there's any point in making a beef about it because they feel like the system will support the perpetrator over them, or because what they have to say about what they felt and what they saw won't really matter, particularly how they felt. No one really cares how scared you are if you're the prey and you're dealing with the predator. The whole point of the predator is not having to think. Does the predator think about how scared their prey is? And humans, unfortunately, form upon other humans in a somewhat predatory fashion, especially when people aren't considered. So it may not be within your experience, but it is in mine that all kinds of people I've known have behaved towards me and could, and reliably probably could again, as though my sense of what makes me feel uncomfortable or unsafe doesn't matter, even if it were recorded. And then you're looking at a prerogative, we'll say that's subjective, my own subjective sense, a prerogative that it would seem that people have, which has the unfortunate tendency to eliminate my voice and my own safety. Now that puts you on alert. It puts your hackles up for the rest of your life. To learn that is to learn what I call the language of the gorilla. Humans in this way, who speak this way or have this effect upon us, so it's as though outside court law and all the trouble we could make for each other, it seems to say that in a way that if we heard that, like a law, if it's like, oh, then that would put us on the defense, it would put our hackles up, it would make us wary, like the rune Algiers. The sedge grass and the elk has a lot of stamina. It reaches up to the highest of laws and the highest of heavens, reaches down and up and to the side to the greatest of joys and the greatest of peace in the world, but knows that now and then it has to protect itself with quick-wittedness, quick-mindedness, and vision. So you need to be able to imagine what, or at least pay attention to, what stands against you for any reason, even for its own self-defense, which most things or people that stand against us are also trying to protect themselves, which might be hard to think of, and then the more you object, the more they're going to feel the need to protect themselves. So predators or evil people will do harmful things to someone, expect to get away from it, and when they don't, they'll play the victim. Right? So they don't know, which is probably true, why somebody would object to their behavior, because they don't think it's that big a deal. So the minimization of the fears and discomfort of others, when it can be projected outside of the self, which also means to suggest that if it actually happened to the predator, they wouldn't like it. But since it's not, it doesn't matter. It's not something that should matter to anyone, right? And if it does matter to you, then you've pissed them off, and that matters to them. Now, you just see how that spins out of control. So a lot of violence done from one human to another in various capacities in the economic world, professional world, law, education, where we travel, where we work, socialize, drink, get spa treatments, and so forth, has a kind of dark economy to it, where things happen and things are communicated where the victim or the recipient knows one way or another, and it's en masse as though they know, that you better just take it. The smart thing to do is, if you can find the poise in your family and where you come from, to just bear it ability and don't do anything. Don't complain, don't say anything. And they're telling is a good idea. If I complained or made a fuss about every time somebody made me feel uncomfortable, it would just become absolutely impossible. Just complaining as much as I have the last few years. I became a complainer. I never had really spoken up about anything before. And it's weird how the more you speak up, the more you see. For those of you who have never spoken up and you decide to start speaking up or stand up for people and things, I had several years where I started doing that. And it's really dangerous because it's amazing what you start noticing once you start using your voice in that kind of advocacy sort of way. Because I'm not somebody who would normally call the police about, and I never really saw a reason to do so. There are probably people who could listen to this and say, I've never had a reason to call. And suddenly I started seeing things. I thought, no, that's not right. And it sort of, the more I said, the more I saw. And the voice kind of opens up your senses. You're not becoming a police officer, but you, as an amateur journalist and chronicler of your own existence and environment, we do tend to see more. This news just in, you could probably hang out with a friend, at least hypothetically, and go, guess what I can see over there? Guess what I can see over there? I love people who do that, by the way. I love media. I've met street people. I've met people who you could sit with them and tell you about people, because they become good readers of human beings. But more than that, what I've learned to be myself, listening to actually people from the street level in many cases, is to something I learned from the street, or from people, respectfully, who live closer to the earth than I do, with more faith than I do in many ways, and more faith, if I may be honest, than I really want to have in getting my daily victuals. But often, I've met people who are living at a much lesser level in a way, but also achieving more and finding a level with their level where they're achieving a great level of restorative. And I do agree with that in my own life, which is a lot less than others' life. I get to engage in a lot of powerful restorative things if I make good decisions about how I spend my time. I think I'd hold that if you can't work, or you're disabled, or for whatever reason, I think our labors and our rest are still very important. Whatever you're at, if you can find some restorative function to your day, that's good. And it takes a little help sometimes. I knew a guy, he had to be donated a slightly better car to be able to live outside in winter. So I forgot what I was talking about now. People can do things to people, and then people have to bear it. But the more that I said, the more that I saw, and the more that I saw, the more that I said. And my work, and even my blog, for the last 6 years, of the 12 that I had, just became more of this chronicling the environment and all the new things I had to say. And I got to say, with a certain amount of rest in my voice and a sigh of relief, that it's been many years and growing and growing and growing. And in a way, I felt worse and worse and worse, and saw worse and worse and worse, and complained about worse and worse and worse. And I really can't do it anymore. But you start to see more the more you use your voice, and the more you see. I saw a lot of dark things around me. And there are things that I will never forget. That I'm glad that it didn't take much to shock the hell out of me. It doesn't take much to shock the hell out of me, in a way. And I love enough, I'm done. If you're doing anything about it, and once you just get shocked and you're fatigued enough, walk away. And I'll teach you a little bit of magic, if that helps, because you get involved with things, and it's like a runaway train. It's just, how are you ever going to withdraw yourself, and how are you going to know when the war is over, when you've done your part? No one ever tells you to go home when you're using your energy in an elective way to complain about what you can see as wrong or injudicious in the world. And some people maybe have more natural restraint than others that way in managing their energy. But I would say for those who need a little help, Odin finishes the war. Nature, the earth, Odin, the winner of all battles. The war will not be over until you rest from it. You have to rest from the war for the war to be over. A lot of soldiers out there, they don't know how to rest from the war and let the war finish itself off. Right? The master commander of any battle that humans engage with, let's say I was the master and commander and I was Odin, and you'd see me on the battlefield, and at some point in the melees and the different conflicts that are going on in the human mind or in the battlefields of the world, I would turn and walk home. And you'd be like, where the fuck are you going? And it's like, it's time to rest. And sure enough, after a while, the war would settle down. And if everyone just knew when to turn around and walk away, all the wars in the world would settle down. There's a time to just, it's enough. Just like if you had an argument with a spouse, there's a time when you just walk and just give it a rest. You've said enough. Now let it settle. Let the war finish itself off. You know? Sometimes we need, Christians would say faith or God, but I would say turn your mind off. You need more than just faith to tell you the war is over, but sometimes just if you feel that, if you've ever felt a sense of needing to defend yourself or your family or your home or society, look for that instinct that just goes, it's time to leave it alone. Let Odin finish the war, right? Remember, your most powerful enemies fear you. If I were your enemy, I would fear. Who knows what you could do to me? And not even that you were a vicious person, but what if you confront my weaknesses or confront my deficiencies? Especially if you're a younger person, I'm sure, and you're smart, you're really good at seeing older men and their weakness and what's wrong with them. I bet there's young people who could listen to this and tell me exactly what's wrong with me. Your mercy. As you will wish for those in the future to have mercy, as your Father deserves your mercy. And I don't mean that with any disrespect, because powerful people, we need their mercy, don't we? And weak people need your mercy. If I'm weaker than you, then I need your mercy. I beg your forgiveness for having to dole out something to me that you might not wish to give. Your compassion, your patience, and your mercy for my weakness. And couldn't we say that to everyone in the world, so that the world could just let its hackles down? Like, yes, don't worry, like, we know we're weak and we're going to cost some people their time, and we're going to fuck shit up, and we're going to want to defend ourselves or something, and we just should just put the battle axe away. We just made something even worse. We've really basically made a hump of ourselves. And maybe that is not absolute that we did, but chances are if you're getting involved in the world, someone's going to think you are. At some point, enough has to be enough. You will know your enemies, and they will know you. You will never forget each other. I promise you. You and your enemies will never forget each other. The world has not forgotten you, because you're born the enemy of the world. The world has not forgotten you, my sire, my king. The world has not forgotten you. The world remembers the king, which is its enemy. The child born the enemy of the economic state. And not a completely dark, depraved relationship, but something that should never be allowed to see the light of day. In anything but the worst impositions, at the worst possible suggestions of the most damning range of uniform signals that ever buried their way into human discourse, like the number 2. Some of the best things in the world involve the number 2. My mother has 2 eyes. There are 2 of us. If we went to a restaurant, I would say, we need a table for 2. I wouldn't say because we're a piece of shit. Give us a table with a chair that you can put some shit in. Give me a table for number 2. No, 2 people, both of whom can produce their own feces at the right and appropriate time and amount. Emphases. I saw another word with feces in it. What was it? There's emphasis. If you're from Memphis, are you a Memphis? Facetious? Facetious. We're just full of shit. You mean facetious? That's what I said. I'm a little anxious today, you know? I saw this guy on the beach yesterday, you know, and I just, there's not a good energy. I don't know what it was. If there's something going on with him, with me, I decided to walk somewhere else. Something was off. I was like, oh shit. Because I've seen this guy a few times, right? And we technically know each other. We don't have to be best friends, but he was walking by like he wasn't even going to say hi to me. I was like, he's a guy. And I realized like he's just in his own energy, but Jesus, man. Like, I don't know. I think he's lost some of his social skills. I think that's all it is, but now I have to wonder, and I don't like that. But take a day off from that area. I'm going to shove on pretty soon. I can't sit here all day, but it's sure is easy to do. I'll tell you that. It's pretty cool. It's like, I don't think it's loitering technically, but this is my little realm. It's pretty cool. I got my, it's not very well today, so it really is pretty cool, but this is my dolmen. I think it's neat. I feel sacred tones. I think this conversation or these conversations for consideration for upload anyway. Mostly I'm a good person, and if you expect people to treat you right, they will. But I do know that you need a little love in your life. You need a little sweetness every day. Otherwise, you can get a little bit prickly. I'm coming off the spot of injury. In medical terms, don't exist, but in my life do. And can I just take a moment to say I'm happy with that? Have you ever had chronic pains and voids in your body? I've actually felt voids in my body, like things and people that have just like emptied me out. I want to be able to say to people one day, you know what? I'm void around you. Void of love, void of respect, void of life. You kill me. You. Oh, that's a neat stone. Look at it. It's almost like a Z, like Algiz, but also the sun. I noticed that Algiz and Solilo have similar letters, Z and S, and I thought Algiz is, you know, the cunning and clever mindedness of avoiding evil, because there are things to be avoided. And it's a little, my mom doesn't realize that the women that she sees, she shares a lot of compassion with them, but they're kind of evil women. They're not healthy women. When women aren't healthy, they have a disintegrating energy to them, which brings accident and injury to people around them. So they're almost not very lucky people to know. But they love, you know, having people around like my mom to talk to, so they can just gossip and spew and stuff like that. And it's maybe unfeeling of me, but like some people really are not worth our time as much as others. And it's not always who you think it is. Some people who think they're very important waste a lot of people's time because their minds just aren't developed properly. It's such a thing, like not everyone's mind is developed. It could be me, it could be you, maybe I don't judge what is, but I think that there are some people whose minds just have not developed properly. And maybe it's something else and that's just what we call it, but there's something wrong with some people. Really are. I've learned that there are just some people that are just wrong in their head. Like life is difficult, we've all got our weaknesses, but some people, they're just wrong in their head and they could be anywhere. And when you meet them, you don't want to, you're like, oh shit, there's one of those people who's wrong. The instant you meet them. Like these kinds of people, they'll basically advertise that something's wrong with them the moment I meet them. It's like the moment my mom starts talking about them, I just know. I'm clairvoyant essentially. And I just know. I mean, really, all that means is I listen to my subconscious. Like, I don't know if you're just listening to me or I've uploaded this, but chances are you figured out who I am or what I mean to you, and whether or not I'm a good person for you in the first 0.5 seconds you ever heard my voice. Maybe even looked at the detail for this video, the picture. Maybe 0.5 seconds of listening to my voice, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0.5 seconds, not 5 seconds, right? So 100th of that, or 10th of that. Is that 100th or 10th? 5 seconds. 5 seconds, 0.5 seconds. Yeah, anyway, a 10th of that, I guess. And you could hear my voice and know instantly whether or not I'm a good person to you, to your judgment. Undoubtedly, there's another nice stone. I think that's the only thing that might have fallen in, if anything. I'm going to put this one up here too, copy of the collection. I haven't seen anyone today, so that's a little weird. I saw a guy walking his dog, but that was in suburbia, so. Oh, the sun's coming up pretty close to me. And I turned on my other camera here. I feel like, someone could actually add to this thing, but I'm not going to. I've done enough. Once you get going with the stones, it just never ends. Just start adding things. It's nice. It's sitting here. It'll last as long as it lasts. I guess there's enough guys next January, December, January, February. This will be covered. And then it's anyone's guess what will be left when the water comes down. Also, something could come along the river. I mean, I don't know. Like I can sit on this and it can move, or you might just see a slightly pile next the spring. So there's a helicopter. So if you can get through the cold and the loneliness of being out here, and you spend enough time, and I'm cold right now, but I can deal with that when I go home. I've dealt with plenty of cold in my life. It takes a couple hot baths and you're done. But but it's cold, you just have to know it's either too cold or it's too hot, or at least it's not too humid today. The sun wants to peek through, and beautiful trees. Seen a duck or two. Their spirits hang out here quite a bit. Stones that have little faces sometimes. I think this stone here had. Just put my foot in the river for no reason. This stone here. I'm not happy until I stick my foot in the river. Really? Ants? Oh, there's a creature. Mr. Ant. Mr. Ant. You are Mr. Durante. Mr. Ant, Mr. Ant. You're a mystery to me. Sometimes you get people walking through here, but not much. This is actually nice. This is a good spot. I should come here more often. Just leaning over this log. The sun wanted to come through. See, it's very early. It's 9 a.m. still, so the day hasn't reached its maximum temperature. So let's say it's probably like 12 degrees right now. It'll probably get up to like 14 or 15 today. We're lucky. So that those few degrees make a difference. So I'm happy with my health. I guess I got a little. I look at my thoughts every day. I look at what's on my mind, and I turn medicine cards. Lizard is lizard is actually a lot like algiz. Lizard algiz, which is be quick witted. You'll be safe. You know, and in this world we have to be clever to just to keep ourselves safe. Like in my world, I can't get around develop it more, but I think there can be people in and around our lives which make life more dangerous sometimes at different levels. So Robert, who walked by my yesterday when I was sitting there, he doesn't seem well, and I haven't really been sure about him since I met him, and now I'm kind of going onto the side of thinking like this is not really a good person for me to interact with, and I'm kind of glad he's a very shy sort of man because I think that's fine. I just that sucks. I remember the first time I met him, I came home and said, "Oh, look, I think I met a cool guy today." You don't have to be friends. It's just like it seems like we can have a nice little, but he's not really able to do that. So just have a polite interaction. I get the feeling that's not somebody I need to know. But you kind of know. My mom's like, yeah, when you meet someone who's a friend, who's not. Just one of the only white men that I've met out there is not a very friendly person. But you don't know that right away. You're like, Jesus. It's like, I don't even know you, dude. You don't even know me. Oh. Germans, people from Germany, literally, were more friendly to me than this dude that I've met out there like 6 or 7 times. We've actually had conversations. I thought they were relatively okay. I realized about him though that I have to kind of restrain myself. He's not as cool as he seems. You know, he's very reserved. I don't think he's he's quite as with it as I first imagined. Not a bad person, and a dangerous person. He's just out on the West Coast. They're just very serious all the time. You wonder if this guy ever lets himself go. And they have beards, and I don't like men with beards because I always feel like they're never quite what you, all. It's never all is not what you get. And I guess we all live behind masks and costumes in our way, but I find bearded men not to my like. If I could meet a bearded man that I could trust, it's almost like you should earn the beard. Like some men, it's because like they've earned the beard. Instead of covering anything up, it's really kind of revealing their strength, their sense of vision. People think of God as having a beard because they think of God as wise and powerful. But like maybe great warriors and Vikings had beards. They kind of earned it. Hockey players, down the stretch, maybe they have beards, but like having a beard, like it should come something. Now, I don't really produce enough whiskers to even grow a beard myself. What does that say? But I can't hide my face. I don't even like having stubble. Like, I shave pretty regularly. I don't mind having a little bit, but like I find incredibly long hairs growing out of my neck. It really bothers me. I finally got a shaver that works, electric shaver you can use for that. So I all separately with the scissors. And they're like men should have to earn beards. I don't like men like where beard should like when you see characters on TV like police with beards, you have a sense of like masculinity and power and competence. But any man can grow a beard. Who can make enough whiskers on their face, and I just don't think everybody should have a beard. I've known a lot of men that it seems like more like it's covering up and stuff. I imagine men who play Santa Claus, or women maybe, really get to like it. If you do a good job at being Santa Claus, I'm sure you have to enjoy it. Ooh, really get into it. And doing your job. And your job is just to be a different person. The parents know that, you know that, the children don't know that, and everyone wins. So the parents are okay with you, right? It's the one time, right, around Christmas that men and women are allowed to dress up and be a pedophile, right? People are so worried about pedophiles, and then around Christmas, some stranger, their job is to be a pedophile. They're a socially acceptable pedophile, right? You're okay with it because Christmas, the history of Christmas, is about lifting moral inhibitions. That's what the 12 days of Christmas were about. So when you lift your children and put them in the lap of some stranger, I'm not saying that stranger wants to molest your child, but you're giving them a level of trust you wouldn't give me. Like if I put on a beard one day and said, "Could you put your little girl in my lap, centimeters away from my flaccid penis?" What would you think? So people know that the person playing Santa Claus is being fake, and they accept it, right? And the children don't quite know, and they accept that, and everyone plays along. And they tell more of their wishes to Santa Claus than they probably do to God when they're praying at their bed at night. Santa Claus is like their God. This is a level of intimacy combined with physical touch, sitting in the lap, spiritual, mental, emotional intimacy that is conjoint with that of the parents, but not the parents, right? Right? You might say parents are biologically unable to feel sexual about their child, or should be, but this is a stranger with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old girls sitting in his lap or her lap, or boys, right? Telling them their dearmost, innermost desires for Christmas, right? Lowering inhibitions. And the beard, the costume, everyone goes along with it. It's creepy. Christmas is actually quite creepy, don't you think? It's a creepy time of year. It's a Yule tide, right? A Yule tide is a tide of human sacrifice. Sugar, the Santa, the lowering of inhibitions that makes you feel better, gives you a euphoria as a child. And we say we're doing it for the children. But do children need euphoria every year? Created sugar and lowered inhibitions about sharing private things with men with beards at the mall. The one time that pedophilia is okay, because loving children a lot at that moment, rid of them, combined with physical contact within centimeters of a stranger's uterus or penis, genitalia. That's intimate contact. That's intimate sexual contact. It's within the realm of human physical intimacy. Psychiatric ward for depression once, and a woman there named Tanya Brown sat in my lap around 7 witnesses, and I was told to, quote, leave her alone. She kept sexually assaulting me. The psychiatrist kept telling me to, quote, leave her alone. Apparently, I was sexually assaulting her.